Okay, for section 8.3, you're going to factor each trinomial. So these are in the form x squared plus bx plus c. So that's the indication that you can use the Korean method, or some of you like to do the box method. So if you want to do box, that's okay too. So it's what can I multiply to get the number in front of n squared, which is 1. And then the second column gives me what can I multiply to get 20. Make a list. 1 times 20. Then do 2. 2 times 10. 3 won't go into 20. Then do 4. 4 times 5. 5's already on my list, so I know I got a complete list. Now, I'm trying to get a 9 in the middle. So which set of those numbers adds up to 9? It's 4 and 5. So 1 times 5 gives me 5. 1 times 4 gives me 4. If I add up 4 and 5, I get 9. So then you go back and you put your variable, which happens to be an n, in your first column, and then you go straight across. The 4 was positive. The 5 was positive. So your answer is 1n plus 4 times 1n plus 5. And if I multiply that out, I get back to n squared plus 9n plus 20. Number 22, d squared minus 6d minus 7. So draw your two arrows. What can I multiply to get 1? 1 and 1. Now what can I multiply to get negative 7? I can do 1 times negative 7. I could do a negative 1 and a positive 7. So I've got to get these to add up to be the middle term, which is a negative 6. So I think the ones that are going to make a negative 6 are the 1 and the negative 7. So 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus negative 7, it adds up to negative 6. So then go back, put your variables in. So this time it's a d. This was a positive 1, and this was a negative 7. So it's d plus 1. And it's d minus 7. Number 23, what can I multiply to get 1, which is 1 and 1. Now what can I multiply to get 8? Well, I can do 1 times 8. I can do 2 times 4. But these are going to have to add up to be a negative number. So 2 positive numbers don't add up to a negative number, but 2 negative numbers can multiply to be positive, and they're going to add up to be negative. So I think negative 2 and negative 4 are going to add up to negative 6. So if I multiply 1 times negative 4, I get negative 4. 1 times negative 2, I get negative 2. I add them up. There's my negative 6. Go back in, put your variable in. Go straight across. And I have a 1x minus 2 and a 1x minus 4. For number 24, what can I multiply to get 1 in front of the y squared? That would be a 1 and a 1. And then what can I multiply to get 30? Negative 30. Well, I can do negative 1 times 30. I can do negative 2 times 15. I could do negative 3 times 10. 4 won't go into 30. 5 is already on my list, so I'm done. Or no, 6 won't go in, 7 won't go in, 8 won't go in, 9 won't go in, but then 10's on my list. So now I had to check all those back up to 10. Or I could do a positive 1 and a negative 30, a positive 2 and a negative 15, or a positive 3 and a negative 10. But the pair I have to pick is the ones that add up to 7. So which of those sets of numbers adds up to 7? Well, I think it's the negative 3 and the positive 10. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. 1 times 10 is 10. Add those up, I get the 7. So go back in, put your variable back in your first column. So then I've got straight across, I've got a y and a negative 3. And straight across, I have a y and a positive 10. So for 25, what can I multiply together to get 1? Well, that's going to be the 1 again, 1 and 1. Then what can I multiply together to get 5? Well, I can do 1 times 5. That's it, but I have to add up to be a negative 6. So that's going to have to be a negative 1 and a negative 5. Because the two negatives multiply to be a positive, but they add to be a negative. So 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. If I add those together, there's my negative 6. So go back in, put your variable in, which was k. Go straight across, and I'm going to have k minus 1 times k minus 5. So what can I multiply for 26 to get 1c squared? Well, that's going to be a 1 times a 1 again. Now what can I multiply to get together to get 24? I can do 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. 5 won't go into 24. Then I'm back to 6, which is on my list, so I know I've got them all. But they need to multiply to be a positive 24, but add up to a negative 10. So the only way that's going to work is if both numbers are negative. So both of these had to be negative. So which set of numbers will give me a negative 10 when I add? Well, a negative 4 and a negative 6 do. So 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Add those up. There's my negative 10. Go back, put my variable back in, and I get c minus 4, and I get c minus 6.